Clinical supervision has always been at the heart of good clinical practice, whatever the modality of the therapy. It's going to become increasingly important as regulation comes into play therapy, counselling and psychotherapy, because the government is extremely concerned about detecting unsafe practice and doing everything possible to prevent it. A clinical supervisor has two main roles. First of all, monitoring the safe practice, as we've already discussed, but secondly, supporting the therapists, their supervisees. And support is not just limited to the clinical aspects. There are other factors that determine the success of a practitioner. This includes building the confidence of the practitioners, particularly in today's current climate of financial difficulties, redundancies, and the difficulties in obtaining work. And the supervisors, we feel, have a pivotal role in helping the supervisees to achieve this. My particular contribution to the supervisors course is training the supervisors to coach the supervisees in all aspects of career development and building up their own independent practices. Monika's contribution, naturally, is major and concerns the clinical aspects.
I really like teaching the supervision course as we do, using creative arts, because what happens in supervision normally is that people talk out their cases, and it is often quite difficult to see for a supervisor what is actually going on in not just transference and counter-transference, but for instance relationships. And we use the creative arts in order to bring these unconscious processes into the open. And our supervisor course enables you, after these 7 days, 40 hours practice that also needs to be supervised, to come out with a certificate in creative arts supervision, not only for play therapists, but also for counsellors, psychotherapists, or anybody who works therapeutically with children or adults. Okay, Shirley, in our supervision session today, what I would like you to do is to give me a picture using the shells of your relationship with the client in the playroom and what might influence that as well. So could you tell me who these different shells are? Who are they representing?
This is the client.
Mm-hmm.
This is me.
Mm-hmm.
This is the client's mother. And this is the client's mother's partner. This is the school and the education system. And these are all the parts of the system that are a resistance to the client.
I am today mainly interested in the dynamics between the two of you. Let us just look at the position of the shells and the different textures. We have what looks like quite a rough shell, lots of different colors, lots of different spiky, rough textures. It seems to have a spiral here, but it's hardly noticeable what it is because of all these different things on it. And in contrast here, we seem to have a very smooth shell with a very pronounced spiral. And I wonder what this shell might feel towards this shell, about closeness, proximity, and what this one might feel the other way around.
This shell would like to get closer to that one, but the spikiness makes sure that doesn't happen, and it uses it as a defence.
Yeah.
The gap has got smaller over time, but at the moment that is as close as it can get.
As you said, you feel very vulnerable with these spiky bits all coming at you, and therefore it's not safe to cross or to be nearer. I wonder what could enable this one to maybe turn its spikiness or be more vulnerable towards you. I wonder what you would need to do in order to encourage that.
I'd probably need to model and show myself a little bit more there.
From my point of view, it seems that you've made yourself very vulnerable now. How does that feel to you?
I think I could reduce my vulnerability and change at times as needed, which I do have to do a lot with this young person.
Yeah.
So probably there.
So what you think with him seeing you not being totally closed, but making yourself a little bit more open, what effect might that have on him? What might that enable him to do?
It may enable him to show himself more too.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it feel like for you?
That feels very satisfying, because I think also where all of the spikes are beginning to aim is away from me and actually to where the real problem is.
Yeah, which seems to be here. Yeah. So what have we learned from the point of view of the supervisory relationship from this?
I think it's been very visual for me to be able to express myself in this way and to look at it from different angles, to understand my own vulnerability within the supervision and the work with the client, as well as the client's vulnerability.
Yeah.
And how the emotions and feelings need sometimes to be directed to where they are.
Yeah.
And that I can only manage the work and bring around the changes that I can within the environment that I work within.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I have asked you to put the problem that your client represents in colour and shape onto this paper.
Yes, this is my client.
Okay. And then I've asked you to put what you would like the client to be like at the end of the play therapy intervention in colour and shape on this one.
Correct.
Yeah? And then we want to look at the journey from number 1 picture to number 3 picture to say how do we get from there to there.
That's right.
I would just like to look at what I can see and how the symbols and colours have changed before maybe you tell me what this is all about.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I can see there is two strong colours and 2 strong shapes, like the blue triangle and the red cross. And if I look at that, and I don't know what that represents, but when we get to the second picture, that doesn't seem to be there anymore. What is there is this pink half circle has come into here as well, but in a different shape. And the orange that was here is not in existence here. And this purple is not in existence here. This, from the color blue point of view, the blue triangle, which seemed very, very solid, has become blue lines and a blue arrow. And black has appeared in this picture with a big no.
Correct.
So when we now go to the third picture, which is what you would like your client to be like after the therapeutic intervention, the orange has come back, but as part of what looks like a sun. Red isn't there, but yellow has been introduced. Black is back within those clouds, and the no is still there. Where are you at the moment with this client, session-wise or process-wise?
I've seen the client 7 times, but we're still very stuck at this picture.
Yeah. Okay. And who is what in this picture?
This center part here would be the client. The blue, the orange, and the pink would be the client. The red in the middle is the what the client is working on. Originally, I thought the purple was part of the client, but the more I think about it, I think it may be the movement of where the client's going, a road or some type of transition or something that's going, there's going to be some type of movement, hopefully, for that client.
And would you like to tell me what this part of the client represents?
I think that's what she actually projects, what she is able to vocalize. I think, and that's...
So then when you look at this, how do we go from here to here, there seems to be quite a lot of movement here. The essence seems to be projecting out. The journey in itself maybe has disappeared but turned into something else that is not, well, cutting off,
Right.
but helping to go into some movement.
Because if I look back at this picture now, because the journey is cutting her in half, she can't actually access the journey. Whereas here, she's at this end, and her journey is projecting forward.
Absolutely. So then, I wonder what has appeared here, which wasn't in there, and that is this no.
And I think that's just her voice, her finding the strength, the self-esteem, the confidence to be actually able to project a voice that she's able to speak and stand for herself.
Okay. So if we now look between the transition to the final outcome that you would like to achieve for this child, or that this child achieves for itself, it seems to me that something new has entered there, and that's the yellow. But can you explain what you think has happened to the blue?
Well, the blue has carried through, and I think that's the essence of her. And so here it looks like it's become more of an integrated self and a more holistic view of her. So it's not as independent of trying to, think it through and constantly, be working at it, but it's become more of a self-awareness of who she is and being able to be that person without the thought of where she needs to go.
So from the supervision point of view, what have we learned here that might help you recognize what this client needs on this journey while being seemingly stuck here at the moment?
Because this is such a central focus of this picture, of this big red X glaring, that to move away from that and start working on the things that I can change and the things that I can assist her with.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.